Erica, it's so nice to have you with us today. Thank you for being here to share about your model program. Maybe we can start by you telling me about your program, how it is that you recognize that you had a problem, and we'll start there.
Sure. So we recognized there was a problem because this was really industry-led. The San Diego Housing Federation approached all community colleges in the San Diego area with the problem they were having, and that was a lack of diverse and trained applicants to become property managers, specifically in affordable housing areas. So think of condos and apartment complexes that accept HUD or Section 8. And so they approached all of the community colleges, and we were the only one who took them up on it. And we decided to partner with them and create 2 short-term courses that would lead to a non-credit certificate of completion. This obviously is not an industry credential, but it prepares the students who complete the certificate to apply for and step into property management positions. And so our program has been running for just about a year now. We have a regional manager who is the one teaching the classes, and we have happily graduated over 50 students so far, and many of them have gone on and gone from no experience at all in the housing industry to becoming property managers in affordable housing.
That's pretty incredible. What data or what did the Federation do to convince your college that this was something that you needed to take up?
First, they had a lot of credibility coming to us and saying we don't have, folks applying. Second of all, they had already partnered up with one of the major property management companies in San Diego, and the vice president of that company was one of the board members and still is of the San Diego Housing Federation. And she's actually the one who volunteered to create these courses in partnership with us, and she came to us with curriculum already. So right there, we knew that there were 2 huge industry partners saying that this is a need, and they're very strongly connected, obviously, to the housing industry in San Diego. Additionally, though, we also house the Centers for Excellence here in San Diego County, here at MiraCosta College. And so we looked at labor market data. Before we start any new program, we have to ensure that people can get jobs if we put them through our courses. And so we looked at current labor market data and realized that there is a huge demand and very little supply, specifically for property managers. When we get into the niche of affordable housing, it became an even larger demand. And so what we recognized is we were going to be having people who applied to take these courses that had no housing experience or housing industry experience, but we were also going to be having people who had lots of housing industry experience, but really needed that niche in affordable housing because of the jobs they either were in or wanted.
Fascinating.
Wow. So now having those strong partnerships really coming to you, then reinforced with that data, and obviously your piece was providing that student. So how did your college, or how did you devise your plan to reach out to the students and really get that buy-in?
We took sort of a multi-pronged approach. So after the courses were developed, it takes about a year through the curriculum process, as everybody knows, to, get things through and be able to offer the courses. So we did a lot of talking up in the industry and in the community while those were going through the curriculum process. So by the time these launched, this was a pump that was really primed. The housing industry themselves was constantly going to different property management partners and talking about this. They were going to different donors and asking for donations to create scholarships and funds to help students as they went through the program. Now, our classes are already free and we provide all materials, but they wanted to provide provide transportation, babysitting assistance, laptops if possible, so that we really genuinely had no barriers to these classes. And so they were reaching out to donors, they were reaching out to management companies, and then in turn, those management companies were talking to their own leasing agents and property managers and encouraging their own employees and residents to apply for these classes. One of the main goals the Housing Federation had, and they were very clear about this when they came to us, and this is one of the main reasons they chose our non-credit program, is they wanted a diverse pool of applicants who hopefully had also experienced going through affordable housing themselves. If they had that connection, then they were more likely to want to go into that type of job and understand the population they were serving. So all of that networking that the Federation did prior to, and our little amount from MiraCosta, we did a press release and we did a couple of news stories. Our classes and cohorts, we didn't have to market beyond that. They filled up the second that registration opened, and we were thrilled to see both of our cohorts full. We couldn't even hire more instructors quickly enough to meet the need.
Wow. It sounds like you guys really just kind of hit the mark on all of the areas on marketing, and then really identifying your target market, right? Of those people who experience the same type of housing experiences. So I guess my next question is this. So when that first cohort came in, did you ask them, where did they really come from? So you had all of these different, you've primed the pump, you've done all of these different things. Who actually sat in those seats? Like where did those students come from?
We were curious about that because we, in our heads in advance, had planned all these outreach events and we didn't need them. So they filled up right away, and it was sort of like, well, who did we get versus who did we mean to go out and recruit?
Yeah.
So we did do some demographics. We asked our research and planning folks here at MiraCosta to take a look at the rosters and give us some demographics. And it was actually really interesting. It broke down sort of half and half. Half of the students had no experience in the housing industry whatsoever and were coming from socioeconomically disadvantaged backgrounds, perhaps had only graduated from high school, did not have any college experience. And then the other half were those industry professionals who did perhaps have a higher level of education, were doing okay socially and financially, but wanted that niche in affordable housing. And so the first two cohorts really became a one-room schoolhouse, which we see a lot in non-credit anyway, but really was more, I guess, obvious in these two cohorts because the teacher was grappling with, teaching policies and things to folks who had been in the business for 30 years and somebody who had maybe never heard of that term at all. We also had a lot of older students, so 35 plus. We had it slightly skewed female, and we had a majority group of people of color, which we were aiming for. We were hoping would go into the class, and thankfully did.
Did you notice that there was more success with one group or the other?
We did not. We had a pretty good 70% passing rate across the board. For those who did not pass in that first cohort, I think that when we asked them, it was a challenge because the courses were so fast. So some of the feedback that we got was that when we offered them as a 4-week cohort, and they would take, an 8-week cohort, but 2 classes, 4 weeks each back to back. It was just too quick for some folks. And if they had to miss a class, because at that time for that first cohort, they were only offered in person, it was just too much to lose and they could not get caught up. And we couldn't upscale fast enough to offer another cohort for them to jump into. So we really learned a lot in that first cohort about what will be successful for folks, and 100% in person, although we did it to begin with so that our instructor did not because he came from industry, did not have to learn all the new technology just to teach the course. We realized very quickly he needed to for spring. And so starting actually in the following semester, he began teaching HyFlex. So now students can attend via Zoom or they can attend in person, and attendance has gone way up because they don't have to miss a class if they don't have childcare or they're sick.
Are you experiencing, I'm sorry, Mandalee, are you
No, go ahead.
experiencing that same robust kind of enrollment coming into the second year of the program?
We're still full. It takes a little bit longer. Like we don't, I mean, registration, they may still be registering 2 to 3 weeks prior to the semester beginning, but the cohorts are still full. We actually are going to pause the program in spring because we have successfully graduated so many folks that the industry needs to catch up. We want to spend spring of 2024 making sure all of those people who got certificates are now getting jobs. That wasn't originally MiraCosta's goal to place them, but I feel it is incumbent upon us to be able to say, you know, if you get this, you will work. And I want to be an active part of that and not just rely on the Federation to do it. And one way that we can do that is pause the course in spring, come back with new cohorts in fall. We'll offer an English and a Spanish cohort beginning in fall, which will be really exciting. But spend some time making sure that everybody has actually gotten a job.
Right. Can you speak to us about the mentorship?
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit more about how that works, and how do you, or how does the Federation get so many volunteers? That was just an incredible thing to read about.
It has been a work in progress, and I'd love to say a successful one, but room for tweaking for sure. It's new to us, it's new to them. The process that we came up with was the Federation themselves recruiting mentors, and they held multiple informational events. I've gone to many of them. They've been online and in person, where we let them know about the classes, what their time commitment will be. I was very impressed by the Federation's dedication to making sure that mentors were actively involved in supporting the students, but also that they were not taking on something that they couldn't also do well. So the Federation actually developed a whole mentor handbook. They have a training. They vet all of the mentors. So all of that happens actually on the Federation side. Once they feel somebody is prepared to step into that class and be a successful mentor, they send that person or refer that person to MiraCosta. MiraCosta signs them up as a volunteer. And then we complete that official paperwork. And then the Federation handles mentoring and mentee partnerships. So they pair up the students. Now, obviously, people work differently and work styles are different. And so one thing we have found is that some mentors are a little more hands-off than other mentors. And so what we're working on now, and sort of what I'm calling stage 2, is not just ensuring what mentors can expect, but what mentees should expect. Should we have some type of evaluation process in place if perhaps a mentee finds that the mentor isn't able to participate as much? I have learned a lot about this job of property management, and they're very busy people. They may sign up to be a mentor and not be able to continue after, say, 6 weeks when a semester is 16. So we're learning on the fly. We're constantly revising it. But these students are leaving with industry contacts. They're leaving with letters of recommendation. Many of them are leaving having done multiple site visits at different communities, and they're connected to people in the industry in a way that we would not be able to accomplish if it weren't for the mentorship piece.
Yeah, that's just impressive. I mean, even to kind of have the idea that that could happen, right? You know, it's just it's interesting to think of all that goes into making sure that it's successful.
Yes.
And we've all had kind of probably mentor-mentee situations maybe in the education realm for a while, and we know the challenges that come with that. So, you know, it was a lot to take on with the, you know, industry really kind of leading that effort.
So, you know, I hear that, you know, you're kind of taking a pause and you're reflecting on, you know, where the industry is and how you guys can support that come fall. Outside of just kind of taking that temperature check, what else are you thinking about when you're looking forward to sustain this program or evolve the program?
One thing that we did, I'll say as a pilot, that I would like to continue because it's been so successful, is that we applied for a strong workforce grant and received it. So we received about $80,000, and it has enabled us to fund the full tuition for up to 40 students to go through our not-for-credit real estate license preparation program. So we have a community education component at MiraCosta, as many schools do. And we have opened up that funding to anyone who has completed the affordable housing certificate. And we've been really excited to put, you know, I think we've had 25 people go through it at this point. Spring will be our last funded semester, but we can obviously reapply. And what I've learned from this first year is that there's a lot of interest in that second component. It provides an ability to get a second credential, which is nice, and it's also short term within a semester, but it also enables folks to apply for a higher position within property management, and that can be a difference of $30,000 to $50,000 a year if they have a real estate license. So we obviously want to provide that if we can. So going forward, I'm going to continue applying for that grant so we can keep that as an additional component. As I mentioned earlier too, I'd like to grow the program in both English and Spanish, because another need that the industry has said again and again is we need more bilingual property managers. They're very interested in expanding and bringing in more of our ESL students. And so that's an additional sort of future growing. We may look at sort of an IET program or another type of community, learning community related to our ESL students as well.
So many opportunities.
Yeah.
What are you know, this has been just such a great partnership with the Federation. Is there, you know, can you imagine how it might be replicated in other communities? Or is this just kind of a really unique scenario, and it might be hard to replicate in other places?
I do think that it's unique and that the industry came to us. This was not something on our radar. So I'm profoundly grateful that, you know, this landed in our lap. But going forward, this is absolutely sustainable and replicable elsewhere. So knowing that this is an issue, obviously, if we just take the state of California, affordable housing is a huge issue right now. And there's a lot of money from the state and individual investors, private investors, billions of dollars going into creating affordable housing communities. So the need for these jobs is only going to increase. There's already such a high demand and so few folks who have that background to apply for the position. So I think that this is replicable at other colleges. It's a matter of them having it on their radar and reaching out to their local equivalent of a San Diego Housing Federation or San Diego Housing Commission and saying, do you want to partner on this? It does require industry professionals to come in and help with the curriculum. But even with us, we've already expanded and shared out our curriculum with Grossmont and Southwestern. And this program, this exact program, has already started running at other Southern California, more Southern District community colleges here in San Diego, because they saw what we were doing and wanted to replicate it.
Love it. Yeah. Well, Mandalee, any other questions?
Well, I don't actually have any other questions. I just am amazed at how much you've been able to do in such a short period, and the partnership and the relationship. And And, you know, I think it's been fantastic. Is there anything else, Erica, that you think that you would want to share, or is there something that maybe we didn't touch on that would be beneficial?
I think any faculty member or administrator who's considering partnering with someone in industry to create a program, it is about need. You do need to obviously look at the labor market needs and all of that, but it's also about the people that you put on the team. I went on, sabbatical when this launched, terrible timing, but, I think that when you're building relationships with the industry, it's important to have consistency with those people. Don't take a sabbatical, but also make sure that you've got just a strong core team that is dedicated to it, is compensated for doing this work, and that you are supporting that team member or team that is developing this, because that truly is what has made this a success. We have had a dedicated handful of folks at the Federation and a dedicated handful on our side that were determined to see this through. And those relationships have made all of the difference.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that's a great way to, we'll end on that note.
I really appreciate the making it to the final two. Thank you so much for recognizing the program. Our instructor and the Federation are like, we're so excited. So I'm just,
well, as you should be.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess maybe we could, maybe we should have caught this on the recording, but
I'm still recording.
Are you? Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah. Can you speak just a little bit to like how many cohorts? So you started in 2019. Do I have that right?
No, we literally started
2021.
fall. I'm trying to think, where are we now? We're in fall. We started 1 year ago. So
okay.
Fall of 2022. So we have run 2 cohorts per semester.
Of how many
not
people?
Counting summer, and 40 each. Okay. So we're just now, so we did 80 in last academic year, and we have another 40 that are going through right now. Yeah. And we have put so far 20 people through the real estate program.
Fantastic. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we captured the.
Yeah. And I can send you the updated numbers for certificates. Those updates sort of each month. That's been really exciting too. I don't know, we didn't have a process, like just sharing this isn't for recording, but just like we didn't have a process to physically give people the paper certificate. It was like the dumbest thing. Like at our school, we just did, like, you could earn a certificate, you couldn't physically get it. And so there was a push by a lot of us to like, can you create a process? They finally did. And when they did, it was right at the same time as this program started finishing up. And so our students were the first ones to start getting all these certificates. And so we outreached to every single person like religiously, and they just were lining up online, filling out these applications to get their certificates. And so that also just looked funny on our end of like, wow, those affordable housing certificates are flying out the door. But again, it was just sort of like massive outreach to these people to make sure that they got their credentials. So that was a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.